The night shift at Europa Station was usually quiet. Most of the time, Jack watched the endless stream of space data flow across his monitors while drinking his third cup of coffee. But tonight was different. At exactly 2:47 Earth Standard Time, all his screens lit up with an unusual signal. "That's not normal," he muttered, setting down his coffee cup. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he analyzed the incoming data. The signal was like nothing he'd ever seen before, a pulsing pattern that didn't match any known human broadcasts. Without hesitation, he pressed the emergency alert button. Within minutes, the station's command center came alive with activity. Station Commander Wells rushed in, still pulling on her uniform jacket. "Talk to me, Jack. What are we looking at?" "Ma'am, it's a distress signal, but not one of ours. Look at these patterns." He pointed to the rhythmic waves on his screen. "It's too organized to be natural, but it doesn't match any Earth or Mars frequencies." Commander Wells leaned closer to the screen, her eyes narrowing. "Have you pinpointed the source?" "Yes, Mom. It's coming from the Kuiper Belt, about 40 astronomical units out." Jack pulled up a map of the solar system, where a blinking red dot marked the signal's origin. The commander straightened up and reached for the secure communication line. "This is above my pay grade. We need to contact Earth Defense Fleet immediately." ****. Captain Mike stood on the bridge of the EDF Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, as it approached the coordinates of the mysterious signal. After 3 days of travel at maximum speed, they were finally nearing the source. "Visual range in 5 minutes, Captain," reported the sensor officer. Mike nodded, his face reflecting the soft blue glow of the ship's instruments. He'd seen a lot in his 15 years of space service, but first contact, that would be something new. "All hands to stations," he ordered. "Shields at maximum, but weapons powered down. We're here to help, not start a war." The bridge crew worked in focused silence as the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. As the starfield stabilized around them, collective gasps filled the bridge. Ahead of them floated what could only be described as a city in space, a massive collection of ships arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. The vessels were sleek and organic-looking, with curved lines that seemed to flow like liquid metal. But something was clearly wrong. The ships were dark, with only occasional flickers of light showing through their transparent sections. "Life signs?" Mike asked. "Massive readings, sir. I'm detecting at least 50,000 beings spread throughout the fleet, but their power signatures are weak and failing." Mike studied the alien fleet through the main viewport. Their design was beautiful, but completely foreign. No engines were visible, and their hulls seemed to be made of some kind of crystalline material that shifted colors slightly as they watched. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission. The computer is already working on translation." Moments later, a voice filled the bridge. It was melodic but filled with urgency, and the universal translator struggled to keep up. "To any sentient species who can hear us, we are the Bright Ones. Our fleet is stranded. Main power systems critically damaged. Life support failing. Children aboard. Please, help." Mike didn't hesitate. He pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All medical teams on standby. Engineering crews, prepare for emergency response. First contact protocols are in effect, but our priority is saving lives." He then opened a channel to the alien fleet. "This is Captain Mike of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Horizon. We have received your distress signal and are here to help. Please stand by for emergency assistance." As he spoke those words, he knew humanity had just stepped onto a much larger stage. Whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. The response came quickly, filled with both relief and disbelief. "You would help us, without knowing us." Mike smiled slightly as he responded, "That's what humans do. We help those in need. Now, let's get your people to safety." Behind him, his crew was already preparing for the massive rescue operation ahead. None of them knew exactly how they would save a fleet of advanced alien ships, but they would find a way. They were human, after all, and that's what humans do best: solve impossible problems. The Earth Defense Fleet's engineering team arrived on the largest alien ship through a specially designed docking tube. Lead engineer Tom walked at the front, carrying his diagnostic tools. The sight that greeted them took his breath away. The ship's interior was a marvel of engineering. Curved corridors stretched in all directions, their walls made of the same color-shifting material as the hull. But now, without proper power, only emergency lights cast a soft purple glow through the spaces. "This way," said their alien guide, who had introduced himself as Ray. The bright ones were tall, slender beings with silvery skin that seemed to glow faintly even in the dim light. "Our main engine room is ahead." Tom noticed how Ray's steps were careful and measured, conserving energy in the failing life support system. The engineer's tablet showed the dropping temperature and thinning air. They didn't have much time. The engine room was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Horizons. But instead of the familiar humming of fusion drives, there was only silence. In the center stood what looked like a giant crystal, now dark and lifeless. "This is our quantum core," Ray explained. "It was damaged when we hit an unexpected quantum storm. We've never seen one so far from a star before." Tom walked around the crystal, scanning it with his tools. The readings made his eyes widen. "This technology, it's incredible. You're pulling power directly from quantum space." Ray nodded. "Yes, but now it's cracked. Without it, we can't power our ships or maintain life support for our people." He paused, looking at the human engineers. "Can you help us?" Tom studied his readings carefully. The quantum core technology was far beyond current human understanding. Trying to repair it would be like asking someone from the Stone Age to fix a computer. "The core itself, we can't repair it," Tom admitted. Ray's shoulders slumped, but Tom quickly continued. "However, we might have another solution. We could modify our fusion drives to power your life support systems. It won't get your fleet moving again, but it will keep your people alive while we figure out a long-term solution." He pulled up a holographic display showing his initial calculations. "See, if we link multiple fusion drives in parallel, we could generate enough power to maintain critical systems across your fleet." Ray studied the display, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "But that would require many of your ships. You would risk them to save us." "Of course we would," Tom replied without hesitation. "That's not even a question." He turned to his team. "John, start working on the power coupling designs. Mary, calculate how many fusion drives we'll need. Pete, coordinate with the Horizon to get more engineering teams out here." The human engineers immediately got to work, their tools and tablets coming alive with activity. Tom looked back at Ray. "Now, I need to know everything about your power distribution systems. Every detail could be important." For the next several hours, humans and aliens worked side by side. More engineering teams arrived from Earth's fleet, bringing equipment and supplies. They set up temporary power stations, ran emergency cables between ships, and began the complex task of matching human technology to alien systems. As Tom worked, he noticed something interesting. Despite their advanced technology, the Bright Ones approached problems very differently from humans. They thought in patterns and symmetries, looking for perfect solutions. Humans, on the other hand, were masters of improvisation and making things work with whatever they had available. Together, they made an excellent team. Where the Bright Ones saw impossibilities, the humans saw challenges to overcome. Where humans might have missed subtle energy patterns, the Bright Ones provided crucial insights. By the time Tom made his report to Captain Mike, they had a solid plan. It wouldn't be easy, and it would require more ships and resources than they currently had, but it was possible. They could save these people. "We'll need at least 20 more ships with fusion drives," Tom explained to the captain. "And we'll have to modify them all. But we can do it. We can keep their fleet alive. Captain Mike nodded, already sending the request to Earth Command. Good work. How long do they have? At current rates of system failure, maybe 2 weeks. We'll need to work fast. Then we better get started, the captain replied, because we're not letting 50,000 people die on our watch. As Tom headed back to continue working, he couldn't help but smile. Humans had dreamed of meeting advanced alien civilizations for centuries. Now they had, and the first thing they got to do was show the aliens something they did better than anyone else, solving impossible problems with whatever tools they had at hand. The Earth Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every major nation sat around the circular table, their faces illuminated by the holographic display showing the stranded alien fleet. Captain Mike and Engineer Tom stood at the center, presenting their rescue plan. The situation is critical, Mike explained, pointing to the fleet's power readings. 50,000 civilians, including children, are trapped in those ships. Their life support systems are failing. We have less than 2 weeks to act. A council member raised her hand. Can't they evacuate to our ships? Tom shook his head. Their biology requires different atmospheric conditions. Moving 50,000 people into hastily converted ships would be more dangerous than trying to save their fleet. He stepped forward and changed the hologram to show his proposed solution. A network of human ships surrounded the alien fleet, connected by glowing lines representing power transfers and tow cables. We can modify our fusion drives to power their life support, Tom continued. But keeping their ships on external power indefinitely isn't practical. We need to move them somewhere safe. Move them? Another council member asked. Those ships are massive. How could we possibly tow them? Tom smiled and expanded part of the hologram. By using their own technology against the problem. Their quantum core might be damaged, but their hull material is incredibly strong and can channel energy in ways we've never seen before. We can use it to distribute the towing force across multiple points. He showed a simulation of modified Earth ships forming a net around each alien vessel, using the crystalline hull material's unique properties to spread the load evenly. Each Earth ship will need special modifications, Tom explained. But our calculations show it's possible. We can tow them to safety. The room erupted in discussion. Questions about cost, risk, and feasibility flew from all directions. Captain Mike raised his hand for silence. I understand your concerns, he said firmly. This will be expensive. It will be dangerous. But right now, 50,000 people are looking at their children, wondering if they'll survive the next 2 weeks. What we do here today will show everyone in the galaxy exactly who humans are. Ray, who had been quietly observing from the side, stepped forward. His silver skin glowed softly in the room's light. If I may speak, he said, his translator making his words clear to all. We know we're asking much of you. Our technology failed us, and we came to your system as desperate refugees. We expected to die here. He paused, looking around the room. Instead, we found something we didn't know existed in the galaxy, a species whose first instinct is to help strangers, even at great cost to themselves. The chamber was silent as Ray continued. We offer what we can in return. Our medical knowledge, our understanding of quantum physics, our star charts, all will be yours. But more importantly, you'll have our eternal friendship and gratitude. Captain Mike took over again. We've run the numbers. We have the ships. We have the engineers. We have brave crews ready to volunteer. All we need is your approval to begin the largest rescue operation in human history. The council president stood up. This isn't just about saving lives anymore. This is humanity's chance to show that we can be a force for good in the galaxy. She looked around the room. All in favor. Hands rose across the chamber. The vote was unanimous. Then let's get to work, Mike said, already reaching for his communicator. We'll need every available ship and engineer. We start modifications immediately. As the chamber emptied, Tom caught Ray looking at the hologram of the rescue plan. You still seem surprised that we're doing this. Tom noted. Ray's large eyes blinked. In our long history of space travel, we've encountered many species. Some were peaceful, some hostile. But we've never met any who would go to such lengths to help others. He turned to Tom. You humans are something new in the galaxy. Tom smiled as he gathered his data tablets. We're about to show you something else we're good at, making impossible plans work. Outside the council chamber, ships were already beginning to gather. The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin. The Shanghai shipyards never slept these days. Massive fusion drives were being modified around the clock, their internal components rebuilt to handle the extreme power output needed for the rescue mission. Engineer Tom walked through the facility, checking on the progress of each team. How's it looking? He asked the lead technician at Station 7, where they were testing the new power couplings. Better than expected, she replied, pointing to the readings on her screen. These new designs are holding steady at 150% normal output. The alien hull material they provided for the connection points is amazing stuff. Similar scenes were playing out in shipyards across Earth. In Russia, they were reinforcing tow cables with the crystalline alien material. German engineers were programming new safety systems. Brazilian teams were modifying life support systems to handle the extended mission. On the horizon, Captain Mike reviewed the growing fleet of rescue ships. 20 had already been modified, their hulls now sporting the distinctive blue glow of the enhanced fusion drives. 30 more were in various stages of preparation, but time was running out. Status report. He called out to his bridge crew. Alien fleet's life support is at 42% and falling, reported the sensor officer. The temporary power systems are helping, but we're losing ground. We need to start the rescue within 5 days. Mike nodded grimly. They were cutting it close, but humans had always done their best work under pressure. In orbit around Mars, pilots were training for the dangerous formation flying they would need to perform. The rescue would require multiple ships to work in perfect coordination, maintaining precise positions while dealing with the complex physics of space towing. Again, called out the flight instructor as another practice run failed. Remember, we're not just pulling dead weight. These ships are massive. One wrong move, and we could tear them apart. The pilots adjusted their controls and tried again. Hour after hour, they practiced until the complex maneuvers became second nature. They knew that 50,000 lives would depend on their skill. Back on the alien flagship, Ray watched in amazement as human engineers installed the new power distribution systems. They worked with incredible speed, solving problems on the spot that would have taken his people weeks to analyze. I don't understand, he said to Tom, who was checking the installation. How do you work so fast? Tom looked up from his tablet. We're good at improvising. Your people look for perfect solutions. We look for solutions that work right now and improve them later. But what if something goes wrong? Then we fix it, Tom replied simply. That's another thing we're good at. As if to prove his point, an alarm suddenly blared from one of the temporary power stations. A coupling was overloading. Before Ray could even process what was happening, 3 human engineers had already reached the station. One rerouted the power, another replaced the failing component, and the third adjusted the settings to prevent future overloads. The whole crisis lasted less than 2 minutes. Ray's translator struggled to convey his tone of disbelief. You didn't even need to discuss who would do what. We've learned to read situations quickly, Tom explained. When you're fixing problems in space, you can't waste time making detailed plans. You just act. In the medical bay, human doctors worked with alien healers, exchanging knowledge about their different biologies. The bright ones shared their advanced medical technology, helping humans prepare for any emergencies during the rescue. In return, human doctors showed them techniques for dealing with rapid pressure changes and emergency trauma care, skills humans had mastered through centuries of exploration and accident response. As the deadline approached, ships began arriving from all over the solar system. Each one had been modified, its crew trained, its systems prepared for the unprecedented task ahead. They formed up in orbit around Earth, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Looking at it from his station on the horizon, Captain Mike felt a surge of pride. In just 10 days, humanity had done what many would have called impossible. They had adapted advanced alien technology, modified their entire space fleet, and prepared for the most ambitious rescue mission in history. Now they just had to prove it would all work. The fleet of 50 modified Earth ships moved into position around the first alien vessel. From the Horizon's bridge, Captain Mike watched as the ships took their carefully planned positions, their enhanced fusion drives glowing bright blue against the darkness of space. "All ships report ready, Captain," his communications officer announced. Mike took a deep breath. They would start with the largest ship first, the one carrying 15,000 civilians. If they could move this one, they could move them all. "Begin power-up sequence," he ordered. Nice and slow. One by one, the Earth ships activated their modified fusion drives. Energy readings climbed steadily as the new power distribution systems came online. The alien ship's crystalline hull began to shimmer with transferred energy. "Power at 20%, reported the engineering station. 30%, 40%. On the alien ship's bridge, Ray watched the human fleet's effort through the main viewport. Beside him, Tom monitored the energy flow through his tablet. The alien ship's hull was starting to glow with a soft blue light as it absorbed power from the human vessels. 60%, Tom called out. Hull integrity holding steady. Beginning Tau cable activation. Massive cables of reinforced metal and crystalline alien material extended from the Earth ships, attaching to specially designed connection points across the alien vessel's hull. Each cable locked into place with a soft thud that echoed through the ship's structure. "All cables secured," Mike announced over the fleet channel. "Prepare for first pull test. 5% power to Tau systems." The fleet of Earth ships fired their engines in perfect synchronization. The cables went taut, spreading the force evenly across the alien ship's hull just as they had planned. But something was wrong. "Captain," Tom's voice came over the radio. "The power distribution isn't matching our simulations. The hull is absorbing energy differently in real conditions." Warning lights flashed across control panels as power levels fluctuated wildly. 3 cables snapped under the uneven strain, their ends whipping dangerously through space. "All ships, cut power," Mike ordered. The glow of fusion drives dimmed immediately. In the alien ship's engine room, Tom's fingers flew across his tablet as he analyzed the data. "The quantum field residue from their damaged drive is interfering with our power distribution. We didn't account for this in the simulations." Ray moved to a nearby console. "Perhaps we can help. Our hull can be tuned to different energy frequencies if we modify the resonance pattern." "Yes," Tom exclaimed. "We need to match the power frequency to the quantum field." He quickly shared new calculations with the fleet. "Captain, we need to adjust all drives to this new frequency." "We can do it, but every ship will need to make the change simultaneously." Mike looked at the readings. They were losing time, and the alien ship's life support was critical. It was a risk, but they had no choice. "All ships, implement new power frequencies," he ordered. "Prepare for second attempt." Engineers across the fleet raced to modify their systems. Within minutes, they were ready to try again. "Power-up sequence initiated," Mike announced. "New frequency engaged." This time, the energy flowed smoothly. The alien ship's hull began to glow with a steady, uniform light. The Tau cables held firm as power increased. "It's working," Tom reported excitedly. "Hull resonance is matching perfectly. Power distribution is stable. All ships, begin forward thrust," Mike commanded. 1/4 power. 50 human ships fired their engines in unison. The massive alien vessel shuddered slightly, then began to move. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, it glided forward through space. A cheer went up across all channels. They had done it. The impossible was now possible. Ray turned to Tom, his silver skin glowing with emotion. You adjusted an entire fleet's power systems in minutes, just because it wasn't working the first time. Tom shrugged, still monitoring the power flows. Like I said before, humans are good at fixing things on the fly. Now we just need to move the rest of your fleet. In the distance, more Earth ships were already moving into position around the next alien vessel. The rescue had truly begun, and humanity was showing the galaxy what they could do when people needed help. 3 days into the rescue operation, the impossible happened. The quantum storm that had originally damaged the alien fleet returned, its swirling energy patterns visible even to the naked eye. All ships, emergency positions. Captain Mike's voice cut through all channels as the storm front approached. They had already moved 6 of the alien ships to safety, but 4 remained, including one filled with 5,000 children. Storm will hit in 3 minutes, called out the sensor officer. It's bigger than the last one. Tom's voice crackled over the radio from the alien ship he was helping to evacuate. Captain, these storms are attracted to quantum energy. The residue from the damaged drives is drawing it straight toward us. The storm front moved faster than any natural phenomenon should, its purple-black energy tendrils reaching out like hungry fingers toward the remaining ships. The modified human vessels tried to maintain their towing formation, but the storm's quantum interference was affecting their power systems. We're losing power coupling stability, reported one of the Earth ships. Tow cables are starting to fail. Mike watched in horror as the storm's leading edge reached the first set of cables. 3 snapped instantly, their broken ends whipping through space with enough force to tear through a ship's hull. All ships, emergency disconnect, he ordered. But it was too late. A massive surge of quantum energy struck the fleet. Ships spun out of formation as their power systems went haywire. Warning alarms blared across every vessel as the storm's energy played havoc with their electronics. The alien ship with the children is drifting toward the storm center, someone shouted over the general channel. They're going to be pulled in. Without hesitation, Mike made his decision. Horizon will intercept. All other ships get clear of the storm. Captain, no. His first officer protested. If we get that close to the storm center, we'll lose all power. Then we'll lose power, Mike replied firmly, already plotting the intercept course. But we're not letting those children die. The Horizon's enhanced fusion drive roared to life, pushing the ship straight toward the storm. Behind them, other captains ignored the order to retreat. 24 Earth ships formed up behind the Horizon, their crews refusing to abandon their mission. Inside the drifting alien ship, Ray worked frantically with Tom at the emergency control panel. If we can't stop the drift, we'll lose everyone on board, Ray said, his usual calm replaced by genuine fear. Tom looked up from his tablet, his eyes showing a sudden idea. The quantum storm is attracted to quantum energy, right? What if we give it something else to chase? He quickly explained his plan to both Ray and Captain Mike. It was crazy, dangerous, and probably impossible. In other words, it was perfectly human. Do it, Mike ordered. Tom began reprogramming the power distribution network of every Earth ship still in range. Instead of fighting the quantum interference, they would amplify it, using the modified fusion drives to create a massive quantum energy signature away from the alien vessels. Everyone's going to lose power for at least an hour after this, Tom warned. We'll be floating blind. Better than not floating at all, Mike replied. All ships, prepare for emergency power surge on my mark. The storm was almost on them now, its energy making the ship's hulls crackle with purple lightning. The alien ship full of children was barely a kilometer from the storm's deadly center. Now, Mike ordered. Every Earth ship fired their fusion drives at maximum power, their modified systems creating an artificial quantum surge that lit up space like a new sun. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the storm began to turn. Like water flowing downhill, the quantum energy shifted, attracted to the massive energy signature the human ships had created. The storm's center moved away from the alien ships, drawn by the more powerful quantum source. "It's working," Tom shouted. "The storm is." His transmission cut off as every ship in the fleet lost power, just as he had predicted. They were now floating blind in space, their systems completely drained. But they had done it. The alien ships were safe. In the darkness of his powerless bridge, Captain Mike smiled. They would need a few hours to restore power, but they had saved thousands of lives. More importantly, they had proved once again that humanity's greatest strength was refusing to accept failure as an option. Through the viewport, he could see the quantum storm dissipating in the distance, its energy spent. The first emergency lights began to flicker back on across the fleet. They had survived. Now they just had to finish the job. Earth's orbit was more crowded than it had ever been. 10 massive alien ships now floated safely in high orbit, their crystalline hulls reflecting sunlight in beautiful patterns across the planet below. The last ship had arrived just hours ago, completing the most ambitious rescue mission in human history. On the Horizon's observation deck, Captain Mike stood with Ray, watching Earth's space tugs guide the final alien vessel into its temporary parking position. "1 month ago, we thought we would die in the cold of space," Ray said quietly. "Now our entire civilization is safe." He turned to Mike. "How can we ever repay this debt?" Mike smiled and shook his head. "There's no debt to repay. We helped because it was the right thing to do. That's all." But the bright ones had already begun sharing their knowledge. In hospitals across Earth, their advanced medical technology was saving lives that would have been lost just weeks ago. Their understanding of quantum physics was revolutionizing human science. Star charts showing thousands of inhabited worlds were being studied by eager human astronomers. In the Moscow Science Academy, Tom worked with a team of alien engineers to understand the principles behind their quantum drive technology. They had already begun designing a new hybrid drive system, combining human fusion technology with alien quantum mechanics. "The failure of our drives taught us something important," one of the alien engineers told Tom. "Perfect solutions aren't always the best solutions. Sometimes you need what humans call backup plans." Tom nodded, remembering how their fusion drives had saved the day when the quantum technology failed. "That's why we always build redundancy into our systems. Space is dangerous. Things go wrong. You need options." The news feeds were full of stories about the rescue. Children in schools learned about the power of cooperation between species. Scientists excitedly discussed the new technologies being shared. But perhaps the most significant change was in how humanity saw itself. They were no longer alone in the universe, and their first major interaction with an advanced alien civilization had proved something remarkable. Humans had something unique to offer the galaxy. Their creativity, determination, and willingness to help others were traits that even more advanced species admired. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, representatives from Earth and the Bright Ones signed a historic agreement. The aliens would establish a permanent embassy on Earth, and humans would help them build a new quantum drive production facility in orbit. It would be the first of many joint projects between the two species. "This marks the beginning of a new era," the UN Secretary-General announced. "Not just for humanity, but for all spacefaring civilizations. Earth is proud to be known as a planet of people who help others in need." Ray, speaking for his people, added something that brought tears to many eyes. "In our language, we have added a new word to our vocabulary. The word is human, and it means those who help without hesitation." Back on the horizon, Captain Mike reviewed the mission logs one last time. The numbers were staggering. 50,000 lives saved, 50 ships coordinated in the rescue effort, and countless moments of human ingenuity and courage. His communication officer interrupted his thoughts. "Sir, we're receiving requests from 3 other alien species. They want to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." Mike smiled. Word had spread fast about how humans had managed the rescue. Their reputation was growing across the galaxy. "Tell them we'll be happy to meet them." he replied. After all, that's what humans do. We meet new people, solve new problems, and help where we can. As the sun set over Earth, its light caught the crystalline hulls of the alien ships in orbit, creating a beautiful aurora-like display in the sky. People stepped out of their homes to watch it, many holding their children up to see. Remember this, they told their children. This is what happens when we work together, when we help others, when we refuse to give up even when things seem impossible. In the end, humanity had done more than rescue a stranded fleet. They had shown the galaxy that sometimes the most advanced technology isn't the answer to every problem. Sometimes what you need is human creativity, human determination, and the simple human desire to help others in need. That was humanity's real triumph, and it would be their lasting legacy among the stars.